Welcome to this video, Risk Assessment Frameworks Overview. How do you transform the abstract concept of risk into a concrete, manageable, and auditable action plan? It starts with choosing the right map and compass. In this video, you will understand strategic versus tactical risk frameworks, learn to set clear likelihood and impact scales, structure a comprehensive, trackable risk register, apply Excel Copilot for streamlined risk logging. By the end of this video, you will be able to compare ISO 27005 and NIST 800-30 frameworks, define likelihood and impact measurement scales, build a structured risk register, use Excel Copilot for practical implementation, ISO 27005 versus NIST 830, workflow. The two most influential frameworks you will encounter are ISO IEC 27005 and NIST Special Publication 800-30. It is best to think of them not as competitors, but as partners. ISO/IEC 27005 provides the high-level strategic what, a continual cyclical process for establishing context, assessing risk, and treating it. It ensures risk management is a living part of your organization's culture. NIST SP 800-30, on the other hand, provides the granular, tactical how. It offers a detailed step-by-step guide for identifying specific threat sources, analyzing vulnerabilities, and determining the likelihood and impact of adverse events. By combining the strategic process of ISO/IEC 27005 with the detailed execution guidance of NIST SP 800-30, you create a comprehensive and defensible risk assessment workflow that is both strategically sound and operationally practical. Likelihood and impact scales. Defined a cornerstone of any credible risk assessment is the establishment of clear, consistent scales for measuring likelihood and impact. Before you can evaluate any risk, you must first define what high, medium, and low actually mean in the context of your organization. Likelihood scales measure the probability of a threat event occurring, which can be defined qualitatively. For example, high means it is almost certain to happen within a year. Impact scales measure the magnitude of harm if the event occurs, considering factors like financial loss, reputational damage, operational disruption, and regulatory penalties. For instance, a high impact could be defined as a financial loss exceeding $1 million or a data breach requiring public notification under GDPR. Defining these scales up front in your risk management framework is non-negotiable. It ensures every risk is evaluated against the same objective criteria, making your prioritization process consistent and auditable. Building the initial risk register. The risk register is the central nervous system of your assessment process. It is the master document where all identified risks are logged, analyzed, and tracked throughout their life cycle. A robust risk register should be structured with several key columns to capture the necessary information. You will need a unique identifier for each risk, a clear description of the risk scenario, and the business process or asset that is affected. Following that, you must document the identified threat and the specific vulnerability it could exploit. Crucially, you should also list any existing controls that are already in place to mitigate the risk. Finally, you will have columns for your likelihood and impact scores, which are then used to calculate an overall risk level. This structured approach transforms abstract concerns into a concrete inventory of risks that can be systematically managed and reported on.
Now let's put this into practice by building a skeleton of risk register using standard spreadsheet application, which is perfectly effective tool for these tasks. And before I start this prompt, I wanted to say that those metrics in Excel are pretty robust when it comes to filtering. If you have a lot of data, then Excel could be useful. But I wanted to show you the steps, actually, that describe the steps that you could do without AI. Would be create column headers, select data validation under likelihood, that you can have some drop down, right? Let's see, it's a bit funny how it works here. Because maybe it's not that perfect as you would do it step by step, but at least this generation is showing us immediately how this table could look like in Excel Okay. While this table structure is sample data are provided, data validation must be set up manually in Excel. Please insert generated table and follow instructions. Apply data validation to specific columns, right? So we can just use this data validation here on one column, right? For example, like here is validation, right? And when you open that, you can just make a list, right? And then you can add those options like high, medium, low here. So that's how you will have them just added in a drop down, like the possibilities here. We can keep it here, right? But the point is that even if you are just thinking about how the column could look like, how the whole table could look like, right? And you have it simulated, populated, it's completely different. Like you have risk ID, for example, I don't like those risk IDs. I don't want them because they are like whatever you change, you can just get lost in those numbers and they are not helpful. I would rather have the affected asset first, maybe the owner, right? So I would maybe move this risk description here, right? Because this would be for me like exactly the determinant what like should I do, like who should I talk with, right? Maybe we can even add the asset owner here, right? But basically what we have here is we have asset, risk description, threat vulnerability, existing controls, safeguards, right? And then you have likelihood and impact. It would be good to have some substantiation. And then the overall risk score, which could be somehow calculated. It's up to you what method you apply here, right? But what we want from Excel is to provide us with some filtering here. And I don't know, you can even filter it A to Z here, right? Or those assets, or sometimes if you have asset owners, you would have different people sorted. So if you want to talk about risks on the meeting with Joe Blow, then you just have the guide sorted here and you immediately see all the tasks related to him after you sort it, right? So that's how it's useful, at least to me. So with this structure in place, you have a robust and consistent foundation for systematically logging and evaluating every risk your organization faces.
Let's do a quick recap of the key learnings from this video. Here's what we've learned. ISO 27005 provides a strategic risk process framework. NIST 800-30 offers detailed tactical implementation guidance. Likelihood and impact scales ensure consistent measurement. Risk registers capture and organize identified risks. Excel dropdowns enforce standardized data entry.